Good afternoon. Welcome to a Community and Technology, where we connect the global community with news, information, and resources that will help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid. Here's my co-host, Dave Burstein. Hey, Dave.
And I'm not the only one here with you today.
That's right. We have a couple of special guests, two high school interns that are working with us. We have Jacqueline Reyes, and we have Christian Adorno. Adorno. Say hello, folks.
Hello there.
Hello.
Okay.
Uh, they're presumably a little bit shy because I don't think either has done much radio before, but they'll have things to say. Let me open with a positive story, as I usually do. In this world, we can use positive stories. There is new gene therapy for one kind of genetic hearing loss. It is deafness that's caused by mutations in the OTOF gene, and it causes severe hearing loss. They've tried it on 12 patients that they've published, 9 of whom are doing much better, and 3 of whom have reached normal hearing. Genetic engineering is starting to come out of the labs. It works. Christian, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm wondering why we don't hear more about gene therapy, because if it could be used to help the hearing, then maybe we could use it for other things like eyesight.
And it is being used right and left. We've previously on the show talked about curing cystic fibrosis. And there's a slew of stories, several of which we brought to the show. There's enormous progress happening in the labs, and it's finally getting out to people, which is what this story is about. Now, what does this mean to you? There are only 20 or 50 newborns every year who have this particular mutation. Sounds like they have a strong treatment for them. That's true of a whole pile of other things. What you should be doing now, maybe something has been found that you know and can help you, but it's really important you have a good doctor who's keeping up on what's happening. I'm getting enormous news because I'm writing about AI in medicine. So I'm reading the medical journal. So I'm seeing things before, and good doctors keep up too. But you want to have a major hospital affiliated doctor or someone that you know is good, that you have reasons to trust, because there are marvelous things happening. The story we brought up in a previous show was that there's been progress in pancreatic cancer. I lost one of my best friends, a fellow named Jeff Raskin, a while back. I got a call from him. We've been talking about doing some video with him. And he sent me an email, said, give me a call. If we're going to do this, we have to do it soon. Because he knew he was going to die in a few months. Jeff invented the Macintosh, or created the Macintosh, and did a lot of wonderful things. And Jenny and I went out to California, and we got a lot of tape on him. We never got around to making it into a movie, which was the hope, but some of it's inspiring. On pancreatic cancer, this is a different cure. It's not AI, although AI may have been used in it. It's creating a vaccine. And the work was done here in New York at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, which is one of the best in the world.
Dave, let me just interject. Christian and Jacqueline may not know, but pancreatic cancer is a very insidious form of cancer, and typically it takes folks out within months of diagnosis. My personal history is my mom initially had breast cancer, and it progressed to she lived with that for about a year or a year and a half taking chemo, and then it progressed to pancreatic cancer, and within a month or 2 months she was gone. So it's very insidious. So this is quite a breakthrough that there is now an immunotherapy that is able to treat pancreatic cancer. Now, Dave, this woman has been survived the pancreatic cancer for some years. Is that right?
Well, she was according to the news story, a woman identified only as Donna was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when she was 66. That was 5 years ago.
Mm.
As Stu was just saying, most people with pancreatic cancer are gone in a matter of months. It's very heartening to see the progress. It's delightful. And with all the things going on in the world, I like to open with some progress.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Dave, let me ask this. Christian was saying that, why isn't there more media focus or attention on some of this stuff? He was really talking about gene therapy. Are there any popular or accessible publications? I know you're looking at a lot of the medical journals. Is there any place else that maybe lay people can look to see some of the developments going on here?
Any decent publication will have some. So I pick up a whole lot from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And even the TV news will pick up a fair amount. But it's not comprehensive. And frankly, sometimes I get it before it hits the main media because I read the medical journals and things like that. So sometimes we have stories here before you see it in the papers. But which is one of the reasons we're here, because we can bring you good information like that. But let me go to a story that's more related to our guests today. The New York City Council has bills introduced that would limit children's social media usage to 1 hour daily. Christian, Jacqueline, how would you react to that?
I remember reading about this one. I actually think like it's a really bad idea because social media could be used for a lot of useful things, and I feel like in a situation where you would need social media in an emergency to maybe search up how to stop this crisis, like it not being readily available for you could cause a lot of accidents. Social media
Well,
is a platform where you could get a lot of information, useful information. So,
and at this point, it still makes errors. I'm working on a story about some astounding errors, including a diagram of the human body that had a bone coming out of the collarbone. And it would have been outside the skin if that was real as opposed to ChatGPT's illustration. So you have to be very careful. You have to be even more careful with reading stuff that's put up on the web by people you don't know. The New York Times makes errors, sure, and you have to be careful with everything there. But
Dave, let me ask this proposed legislation limiting social media use to 1 hour a day. I mean, what's the thinking behind that? Is that is a distraction for the young people and they should be focused on school or other issues, or are they saying that, are they talking about the addictive nature of some of the sites? What's the rationale behind that?
well, this is coming from politicians
Hmm.
and not from the people actually involved. Where do correct ideas come from? They come from social practice, not from campaign statements. And one of the people backing this is the current speaker, chair, I don't know what her title is, of the New York City Council. And
That's
so,
still Adrian Adams?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so it might actually go through. It it's been done. China actually has rules like this, and they insist that all the carriers enforce them.
Hmm. Is that where the regulation would actually come from? Like, I'm wondering, how do you enforce that? Is the actual carrier that a young person is connected to, they would be the monitor of that of usage?
In Australia, and I think it's Slovenia, one of the European countries, they actually have passed regulations that kids under 16 cannot connect to Facebook
Hmm.
because they think there's so many damaging things happening there. They're talking about it very seriously in England and in Germany. In England, if you read the English newspapers and with the web, I can log on to the Times and the Guardian anytime I like. They make a big thing about bullying. And you keep seeing stories every few weeks about somebody who committed suicide because she was being bullied on the internet by her classmates. So there are problems, there are dangers. As Christian says, there's a lot of positive things also going on. And on average, I suspect connecting to other people through the net is a good thing. But I don't know.
Mhm.
And neither do the people putting in these
I
bills.
wonder if Jacqueline has any thoughts on this. Jacqueline, what do you think about limiting the usage, the amount of time that young folks can spend on social media per day? What do you think about that?
I personally think that it it should happen because I mean there's like Christian said, there's a good things and there's bad things about it. But I feel like if little kids are on social media, it's gonna lead to them getting more hurt and like not being able to find themselves or find or they're gonna try and fit in with other people instead of just trying to be in themselves. They're gonna try and think oh this girl's pretty or I want to be like her or they're gonna think something's a standard, which is really not. It's I feel like it's more but I feel like they should limit it to children instead of yeah.
Well, when you
Well,
say children, you mean even a younger age, not not teenagers, or what do you think, Jacqueline?
I mean kids under 16, under 13 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in the middle of the AI stuff, so I brought some of the remarkable things happening. I'm going to bring some of them to this show today. But I also know that it's not all positive. And the stuff that's not positive isn't usually being considered when people are judging what to do. One of the things that just came up is they're going to create a high school specializing in AI. New York City has high schools specializing in a lot of things. What are the special schools in the Bronx where you guys are?
Ours
Oh, sorry.
Go.
ours specializes in technology and software development.
And that's good because if we have an intern who knows something about software development, that we can we can use the help. The city wanted to have a special high school specializing in AI, not running it and running the kids by AI, but getting them learning it and using it. And oh, is there a lot it can do now? There was a strong movement by a group of parents to say, no, 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 AI is dangerous. The new school's chancellor, who had supported this high school before he was appointed, now has postponed it and says we have to look at it more closely. That was a political judgment. He doesn't want the opposition. But on this, it is a very good idea to let kids learn about something that will be very important in their life. And one thing that they'll learn is what are the problems to avoid. That's great.
Young guests, think about that, Dave. A high school devoted to AI, Kristen or Jacqueline. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, I I think shutting it down wasn't really the right move. Like, I get where they're coming from, but with the way AI is like gaining so much popularity and everything, shutting it down doesn't make the AI go away. Like, the kids will end up still learning about it just with no guidance. They'll still end up falling into AI because that's what like most people do nowadays.
Mm.
In studies, a third of the kids in high school have AI companions that they talk to. I didn't believe that number when I first saw it 6 months ago. What are you seeing in your school? Are kids talking to their AIs or typing to their AIs very much?
Um,
Jacqueline?
oh, sorry.
Um, from what I see like a lot of kids they do use it. Like some kids they use it in a good way. Like they try to learn more about some certain topics about it. What wherever we're learning about. And then some others just use it to like just use it because they don't really want to like try and like learn on their own. They just want like to get it over done with.
Do you think that using AI for your schoolwork makes you dumber? That's a trick
Um,
question. Let me answer it myself. There's several studies that say absolutely using AI to do your homework means that you do not learn as much. That's actually pretty clear from the data. And you think of it, that's got to be true because the homework really does help you learn. That's why they give it to you. And if you let AI do your homework for you, it's that much less that you learn. It's a thing that is being shown in area after area. One of them was doctors doing colonoscopies. They let the AIs take over and interpret them for just a short period, a few weeks. And then they had the doctors go back and do some of the tests themselves. And the doctors, because they had fallen out of practice, did not do as well as they had done 6 months before. So using AI as a tool, wonderful. Using it as a crutch, you've got to be very careful. And
Dave,
people,
I'm wondering, that's so true. But back to your first question about AI companions, I'm wondering, Christian, have you seen or you have any experience with any of your peers or folks in your school talking with or having relationships with AI companions that they create?
I personally, no one in my life has done that, but I do hear about that from like kind of like maybe older people with like mental issues. They think the AI is real and it's very unhealthy. But personally, in my school, none of the kids actually like have a relationship. They just use it to like either as a tool or to just plain out cheat.
Mm. Mhm.
a lot of people were using it because it can give you advice. And I understand a lot of what young people are doing with this stuff is they're asking their AI, what do I say to this girl when I call her up and ask for a date? Or where do I get to meet people? In the Bronx? Or I'm a Muslim. Can I find other Muslim kids? And you get answers to all that kind of thing. And the advice AI is giving is dangerous because it sometimes hallucinates. which is just a fancy way of saying it makes a lot of mistakes, but it's also very useful. Let me give you a medical example, Kim, here. A friend of mine had a very bright red spot in her eye she noticed when she looked in the mirror. And I didn't know what to think about it. And we were all set to go to urgent care and let a doctor see it because we didn't know if it was dangerous or not. But first I checked, and it turns out that a bright red spot in one's eye is fairly common. It means a small blood vessel broke, and you don't have to worry about it unless you had, and it gave me a list of other symptoms like serious pain, in which case you had to see a doctor. So we got good advice, and it said within a week it should go away. And within a week, it did in fact go away. There were no problems, and we saved a trip to the doctor. That's the kind of thing that is happening more and more. And one of the reasons I'm looking at the medical AI is that a whole lot of people don't have doctors. Something like 4 billion people in this world have no access to medical care. Is AI as good as a good doctor? Not really. There's a lot of people in AI who think it will be, but at this point, only in certain things, like reading chest x-rays, is it as good as a radiologist. But it's a heck of a lot better for the people who don't have a radiologist, who don't have a doctor, and there are 4 billion of those people, so that's important. Let's go to the other way. This isn't just a show about AI, but there's a lot of things happening there. Another story's come out. Somebody was arrested down south for bank robbery or bank fraud in North Dakota. Spent 6 months in jail before they realized that it was just a mistake of the face recognition and the AI. And in fact, she had never been near North Dakota in her lifetime. The answer to that is not going to be don't use face recognition, because everybody is using it in law enforcement now, being used massively. But to know that it sometimes makes mistakes and always check it. In Russia,
Yeah, I know, David, we've talked before in particular about mistakes that AI makes with people of color, especially women of color, that the facial recognition makes a lot of errors there. So I know we first pointed that out on this show maybe 3 years ago. I'm wondering, has there been any improvement in that, or is this just more of the same type of errors perpetuating themselves with this woman and accused of this crime and locked up for 6 months? That's kind of crazy.
the people who make this software are very aware of the problem, and there are dozens, possibly hundreds of people working to improve it, and it has improved. But there's still a problem sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It almost got more serious in Russia. They thought somebody was involved in a murder, arrested him, 10 months in jail, before they realized that no, they had the wrong man because AI had made a mistake.
Wow.
Yeah. That was somebody facing a death penalty, according to the news story that I worked.
You would think, Dave, that law enforcement would have some sort of double check, that they just wouldn't automatically go along with what the AI told them. You would think there would be some other kind of validation before they actually made an arrest and put someone in jail.
There should be. The process says, and the process also says you can't drop a bomb in Palestine or Iran without a human being approving it. But in practice, they're not really checking. Somebody actually got access to some data, and they got a number about how many approvals one person was giving in a day, and calculated that they spent 40 seconds before deciding to drop a bomb and kill people.
Well, now that is a real life and death uh, area where AI is having incredible impact. But we got to take a break, folks. So we're at the halfway point. So I just want to remind folks that you're listening to Community and Technology on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem, with Dave Burstein and Stu Reid. And we have two very special guests today, high school interns working with us, Jacqueline Reyes and Christian Adorno. So we're going to take a brief break and be right back. Stay tuned.
I'm gonna take myself a piece of sunshine and paint it all over my sky, yeah. Be no rain, be no rain. I'm gonna take the song from every bird and make them sing it just for me, yeah. Birds got something to teach us all about being free, yeah. Be no rain, be no rain. And I think I'll call it morning from now on. Why should I survive on sadness and tell myself I've got to be alone? Why should I subscribe to this world's madness, knowing that I've got to live on? Knowing that I've got to live on. Knowing that I've got to live on. Yeah, I think I'll call it morning from now on. I'm gonna take myself a piece of sunshine and paint it all over my sky, yeah. Be no rain, be no rain. I'm gonna take the song from every bird and make them sing it just for me, yeah. 'Cause why should I hang my head? Why should I let tears fall from my eyes when I've seen everything there is to see? And I know that there ain't no sense in crying. I know there ain't no sense in crying. Yeah, I think I'll call it morning from now on, yeah. I'll call it morning from now on, yeah. 'Cause there ain't gonna be no rain, be no rain, be no rain, be no rain from now on, yeah.
Okay, we're back. Community and Technology with Dave Burstein and Stu Reid on WHR 90.3 FM. And this afternoon, we have two special guests, high school interns Jacqueline Reyes and Christian Adorno, who are joining us in conversations about AI and other topics. Dave, you had something that you wanted to bring up about, I think it was a free speech and some stuff going on at Columbia University.
Most of us think that an institution like Columbia, where Stu and I both went, is going to be reasonable and reasonably benevolent and open and honest. Well, they've made a lot of very bad compromises lately. And one of them is they started investigating and were going after a student who politely put down a flyer in the back of the room about what the opinions in the background of Colombia's most influential people were on the issue of Palestine. I live half a block away from the campus, and for a while there were marches and demonstrations, and that was appropriate, I think. In fact, I was almost tempted to join them, except that they've locked down the whole campus and I can't even get into it now without going through a procedure. The Trump administration got $200 million out of Colombia on ridiculous claims of anti-Semitism. Not that there is anti-Semitism. There is anti-Semitism everywhere in the world, so of course they found some. But there's much less there than when I went to school there, and much less than, say, Trump's campaign supporters, many of whom tie into some people on the far right who are anti-Semitic. They found a few statements. Okay. But the Trump administration, is coming down hard on Colombia with this. Cut off $600 million of research funding. It's not a good idea to spend any money doing research on cancer and blindness, which are things that are done. Important work is being done at Columbia Medical School, and that was being cut out. So the administration is jumping right and left. There were student petitions, the university senate spoke up, and eventually, in this case, the university dropped the investigation. But jumping on somebody for putting out a factual brochure or small piece, I haven't seen it, probably was like 4 pages, is not what a university is about. Now, when I was in high school and college, we had also many issues. The Vietnam War was on, and that was more important to many of us than anything else we were doing in school. Stu, do you remember what it was like at Columbia in 68 and 69?
I certainly do, and our young people probably don't know because it's ancient history to them. But back in the 1960s is when I was at Columbia, and there was a lot going on. The Vietnam War was certainly front and center, but so was the whole civil rights movement. Dr. King had recently been assassinated, or actually was assassinated while I was in college. Malcolm X had recently been assassinated. Medgar Evers had been assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated while I was in college. So there was incredible unrest in the United States. And there was a huge movement by students in universities across the country to reform the government, to stop the war in Vietnam, where many young people were giving their lives for a war that was not really understood. We didn't know why we were there, and in many ways, much like the war that's going on now in Iran, although it's much smaller in scale. But there were hundreds and thousands of young people giving their lives back in the 1960s and dying because of the Vietnam War. So there was incredible protest on the campuses of colleges. And right here in New York City, Columbia University was one of the leading ones where young people were raising their voices and eventually shut down the campus in 1968, spring of 1968. The campus was actually shut down because students took over Hamilton Hall. The black students took over Hamilton Hall. The white kids took over Low Library and essentially shut the campus down. Classes were stopped. Police were called in. It was quite an quite an ordeal. And it wasn't just local, because of the Vietnam War and its international implications. There was a whole student movement across much of the world. I know in Europe, there were lots of unrest in universities as well. So, yes, Dave, to your point, young people in universities were quite outspoken, raising issues, marching, and in fact, in many instances, shutting down campuses. Columbia was just one of many schools across the U.S. and across Europe as well that was shut down as a result of protests by students. So, it was something that the schools said that they tolerated and actually gave a lot of support to initially the fact that students have the right to protest. And that's one of the reasons, one of the things that we do at college is that we express our opinions, however divergent, however we might disagree with each other. That's one of the reasons that we are at college, to talk about that and have discourse on that, disagreement about that, and put those opinions out there. So yeah, it was very incendiary times back then. And fast forward to today, it may not be as incendiary in terms of the mass demonstrations that we saw back then. But in many ways, it's a little more insidious because what we didn't have back then, Dave, at least I didn't see it. You didn't have the federal government coming after the colleges and the kids like you do today. It was the local police and the administration of the colleges, but you didn't have the federal government moving against the schools and cracking down on free speech like you do today. So in some ways, it's a little more scary today.
And the schools are not fighting back by and large. And in Columbia, they threw a whole pile of students out of school. They called the police right away.
Yeah.
In 68, 900 students ultimately, well, not 900 students, 900 people ultimately got arrested, including philosophy professor Sidney Morgenbesser, who had his head cracked by a policeman's club. That fortunately hasn't been happening this time because they clamped down hard. Now, the reason I brought this here when we've got the high school kids with us is I was living in 85th Street then, and on the second floor of my building was a cooperative apartment of the high school student free press, who were putting out the news and getting actively involved. Columbia's Mark Rudd actually came down and spoke to them one day. And
I was one of the
was in
leaders
the
of
fifth
the
floor.
unrest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are the people in your school doing about the issues they really care about? Can they talk about it? Is there free conversation in the school and in the student newspapers? What are you finding today? Jacqueline, why don't I start with you?
I think in my school we're allowed to like talk whatever we want, like about whatever topic we, you know, like they don't. I haven't really see them protest or nothing, but I'm pretty. Uh I'm more. My school is more like they give you your freedom of speech. Like they're yeah.
Well, if the student newspaper had an editorial saying I should be thrown out of New York because because we're a free country and we welcome the tired and the poor and the young and home hungry, yearning to be free, as it says on the Statue of Liberty. What would happen in the school? Would the administration clamp down?
Um, I feel like my school's administration would. I feel like they would. I mean, they would force us to like talk about whatever's on our mind, like like whatever ideas we support. They support ours, but if anything, they'll push us to talk about it more, to spread more awareness about it.
Do you have a school newspaper, Jacqueline, at your high school?
Yeah, we have a newspaper.
I mean, do they talk about current issues or is it just school activities or what?
Yeah, we have school activities and stuff. It was like a school activity, and sometimes we get it like through our emails and stuff.
Hmm. How about you, Christian? What's your sense of, is there any dialogue, conversation at your school about things going on in the world or any controversial issues, or is that something that's not talked about?
It's rarely talked about. I feel like a lot of people in our school have like the same general consent. I don't know that word, but we all really we don't really like have different opinions on things because
Consensus.
oh, consensus, yes, thank
Hmm.
you. Um, so there's not much debate or argumentative conversation going on. Our newspaper really focuses on like events we do, like bake sales, stuff like that. We rarely talk about like actual real world issues.
Well, if you happen to get into Columbia in 2 years, what would you expect to find on campus? What kind of freedom? What kind of rules?
I mean, judging from the story, it seems like there would not be much freedom if they're stopping someone from just simply handing out flyers. That's like the most relaxed version of a protest you could possibly do.
Uh, well, and that's why I try to think of the positive stories to open the show because I have too many like this. Now, let me give you a story that's both positive and negative. Artificial intelligence, since December, has gotten much, much better. I've been working on it for 3 years with most of my time. And I almost don't believe the kinds of things we're seeing. Stu, you had a couple of problems, and I sent you some of the things that Claude was saying on it. What did you think about the stuff I sent you?
I think it's astounding, Dave. I've just started using it in a very rudimentary level, just so for our young folks to know. I was working on creating a couple new websites, and I'm not really that facile. I know Christian, I think, has talked about he's an IT guy, so he's working in some of the languages. I'm not that good at the basic languages. I've kind of used some of the tools that help you put the sites together, but I asked Dave to run it through Claude, which is one of the AI platforms, and wow, it spit back four different versions of a website just based on a couple of questions. And I did mention that that we had a Facebook page and a few social media things out there around the topic that I was interested in creating a new site for. And it came back with four different sites with different themes and different color schemes, and it was pretty astounding and nuanced. It wasn't just kind of format; it was kind of nuanced in terms of the different options that it offered. And I was looking at creating another site as well, a database site. and it came back with some really detailed information about how to go about it and what the steps were. And there was some command line stuff that I was kind of not up on, and it helped me with that. It laid out 1, 2, 3, 4, do this, that, and the other. So it was pretty astounding what the AI came back with in terms of steps 1, 2, 3. This is how you do that, and it's pretty amazing. I really had no idea that it could be creative in that way. I know, I shouldn't say I have no idea because Dave has talked about and we've talked about some of the things that it can do, but to see it applied to a real world problem that I was having and a real world creative solution, number of creative solutions, pretty amazing. So I was very impressed with that.
Uh, Jacqueline, Christian, have you seen anything that amazed you when you work with AI in school?
Yeah, actually, we mentioned Claude earlier in this show, and I've been hearing a lot about how Claude is actually one of the most useful for programming websites, and a lot of people have made the switch from Chat GPT to Claude because of that. Like a lot of people are saying it's better than Chat GPT because of all the capabilities. You're able to like connect it to things to make like slideshows or to read emails. So it's definitely very interesting the capabilities that it could do.
Yeah, I use both Claude and ChatGPT, and I also use Gemini. And people have their preference, and Claude is doing a lot of things right, and I like its writing style, so I make that my favorite. But they're basically all doing about the same. But what they're doing has become amazing only in the last 4 months. I mean, it was amazing what you saw 6 months and 2 years ago. That's why I jumped into it. But what's happened is now that Claude and ChatGPT Codex and several other programs are now writing programs as well or better than a professional programmer. That has made an enormous difference. One of the stories I had was from QCore. It's a very powerful tool to create agents to do things, which can read all your email, or could design a website, or run your computer uh, to do everything you ask it to for the next 6 hours while you go and have a ball game. And that's what you can do with agents. And QCore is a program designed to create agents. There's many like that now. Well, they just released QCore 5 days ago, and 99% of the program was written by that program.
Wait, Dave, you're saying that the program is self-generating, that the program created its own program?
It was given prompts and directions and said, program this. And it did. And we're talking about a heavy-duty, sophisticated application that can do things like program a heavy-duty, sophisticated application. And
Dave, is this impacting? We only have a few minutes left. I did briefly want to mention the job cuts and the career impact that AI is having. You're talking about it. It's now being highly efficient at coding, and I saw that I think Meta cut back 10% of its workforce, some 8,000 people that they let go. Is that the right number?
It's 8,000 people. I don't know if it's 10%.
Yeah, but that's a lot of folks.
It's a lot, and it's happening all over the place, and it probably has very little to do with AI.
Really?
Yeah. AI is having a very small effect on actual employment. It's making it hard to get entry-level jobs in particular. That's clear. But among other things, somebody went and looked, and with the AI doing the programming, are there more or fewer programmers than before? And they're more because somebody has to give the directions to the AI what to do and review it and figure out the system. And they're getting remarkable results. And that creates more demand for more programs, especially in the area of AI, but it's all over. Any company, you go into a bank right now, and the IT department is using AI for its programming.
Okay. Yeah, Dave, we only got a couple minutes left. I'd like to hear a little bit from Christian and Jacqueline about what they're thinking about in terms of their career plans. I think they're both heavily involved in technology. I know Christian has said that the IT is something he is specialized in. I'd like to hear from you guys about what you're thinking, what kind of college you're going to go to, if college at all, and what are you thinking about in terms of your career and your work plans going forward?
Yeah, so despite me being in a technology school and doing programming, I actually plan to be a veterinarian, so I don't think AI will be taking over that because I just well, I hope not, but I doubt it would be taking over a medical profession over a coding profession.
Well, I'm working on a lot of the AI medicine, and I can tell you what's happening now. AI is now good enough to take over many things. On 200,000 mammographies in Sweden, it did a little bit better than the radiologist. They had to do both AI and the radiologist reading them. It's that good for some things, but it can't deliver a baby or a baby cow. And
it's never going to be able to deliver the love and caring that we see and feel from really good physicians, and I'm sure good veterinarian practitioners as well, where the emotional input of a human being is as important, and sometimes more important than the actual medical intervention per se. So, I would say, Christian, that you're right, and that AI may be a bigger aid down the road for you in that area of veterinarian medicine. But I'd agree with you that it's not going to replace you.
Yeah,
and it's not.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Thanks. All right, a lot of work will be like hands-on, so unless they make an AI robot to be a veterinarian, which would probably be very expensive, then I feel like AI would be more helpful than detrimental.
And we
Okay,
talk
Jacqueline,
about
how about you?
For me, for my future career, I was thinking more into like psychology major, like working with like people or like children or with criminals, depending on where life takes me. I feel like AI does have a like chance of taking over my job or my future career. Um, just because I feel like a lot of people are like these days just like always on AI, talking to AI, like they're always just like talking with it. Like it would be, I feel like people would be like, oh, it's more since chat is free, it would be easier for them to talk to someone who's free instead of paying for therapy or paying for someone they could talk to.
And again, there are 4 billion people who don't have access to medical care. And for 4 billion people, you can't get medical care. And even in rich countries like England and the United States, there's some limits on that.
But we got to close it up. I want to thank Christian Adorno and Jacqueline Reyes for joining us today. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, this has been Community and Technology, Dave Burstein and Stu Reid on WHCR 90.3 FM every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Tune in, you just might learn something. Thanks. Good night. This is Stu Reid, host of Community and Technology, airing every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. For 40 years, WHCR has been the voice of Harlem, providing you with news you can use, emergency preparedness information, and a diverse mix of talk and music shows. Our DJs and radio personalities are all volunteers who come out, rain, sleet, or snow, just like the mail carriers, to serve and keep you connected. I am personally asking you to give the WHCR because there's no other station like it, telling it like it is, not beholden to any commercial or special interest group. Giving is easy and can be done in 3 ways. Our 40 for 40 campaign is asking each of you to donate $40. That's $1 for each year of WHCR being the voice of Harlem and beyond. Number 1, you can give at WHCR.org online. Just click the donation tab. 2, send your check or money order to WHCR FM Radio, 160 Convent Avenue, NAC Building, room 1/513, New York, New York, 10031. Or 3, if you want to donate now but the funds aren't yet available, just use our pledge line to call and make a pledge and pay later. Call 212-650-7526. That's 212-650-7526. Leave your name and number and someone will return your call. Remember to speak slowly and clearly. Thank you in advance for supporting WHCR, the voice of Harlem, and ensuring our voices are heard for the next 40 years and beyond.